Now, really, what this mimer is really talking about is kind of the process of what is the point of why did God create the world? What is God's purpose in creating the world?
You're on.
We're on.
So he could get nachas from us.
He can get nachas from us. So like you just have to crack open the Mesilas Yesharim and you just have to read to the very beginning who says, you say this, and whatever else he says, that the whole foundation of why Hashem created the world is because he wanted us to be nene miziv shchinasa. He wanted us to get pleasure. Okay, that's the Rav Noach. He wants us to get pleasure. When the pleasure miziv shchinasa, from the radiance of his divine presence. And he understood that he can't give it to us right away. That if he would give that to us straight, there would be some deficiency in our ability to properly be nene from that. We wouldn't be able to be nene from it really because of nama de kisufa. This is all the Mesilas Yesharim. The nama de kisufa, the bread of shame. The bread of shame that if we just were born into such amazing pleasure, there would be, we as whoever we are, as human beings, how Hashem created us, don't have the capacity straight away to really be able to have benefit from.
Wait.
No, I'm not waiting. I'm continuing.
He did create us. He created Adam that way. Adam didn't handle it well, but that's how he created us.
Well, okay, but Adam didn't handle it well. You think that was part of the story? You think that was just an accident? That was part of the story.
What about another chance?
Okay, so let's just zoom out here. We're zooming out here before we get into the mimer. And basically we don't have the ability to get that pleasure immediately, if that's the first step, because of the bread of shame. So we have this traklin, that's what the Mesilas Yesharim says, the Ramchal, the traklin, the waiting room, the anteroom before the that's the something before the traklin, the waiting room before the traklin, before the wedding hall, the main banquet hall. So that's where we're at now. We're in this preparation stage in order to before we are admitted to this banquet hall, where then we will, because of our experience in the waiting room, that will have prepared us to then properly be able to get hana and benefit and pleasure from God's radiance. Okay?
I guess it had to be 6,000 years.
Well, I just actually heard a while ago somebody said that the pshat was that Yaakov Avinu, we know at the end of Sefer Bereshis, that Yaakov Avinu was going to Megala the Kates. He was going to reveal the end of time to the end of the Mashiach coming basically to his children, and it left him. He couldn't do it. So one thing I heard was, well, Pashut, of course it became like the Shekhinah left him, became kind of like sad, and certainly on anybody who's sad, the divine presence is not resting. So what was the issue? The issue was he saw that he would be Megala Kates, that it's going to be another 3,500 years. So when you're going to tell somebody it's going to be about 3,500 years, hang in there. That's not a good news. That does not sound like good news, and therefore he couldn't say it. Everything got kind of darkened, and he was not able to reveal it, because that's what he would have had to reveal. 3,500 years, guys, hang tight, sit tight. B'chol yom sheyavo, ani ma'amin, ani my 3,500 years. Don't worry. Okay.
It would have been good news for us.
What?
It would have been good news for us. We're kind of almost there.
Yeah, exactly. So it should be good news for us. It is good news for us.
Where are we now?
We're there. We're like 3,498. I don't know.
5784.
We don't know when exactly what the process will look like. But basically the point is that Hashem created the world. The Chabad talks about this all the time. That Hashem created the world to make a dira b'tachtonim. That He wanted a dwelling place in the lower world, a world, the lowest world, the world that has no lower world lower than it, and that's our world. Okay, welcome to our world. That's our world, the lowest world. There is no world lower than ours. Okay, we're the end of the road. We're the last stop.
We should be very proud.
We're the last stop. That's it. We can't get any lower than this. Okay, this is it. This is the lowest we go. Okay, how low can you go? Here it is. This is how low we can go. That's how I try. I'm not trying here to be inspiring. I'm here to just do what I have to do. And so basically the world, and we've spoken about this here and there, is that this reality of dira b'tachtonim, Hashem's dira, and the Rebbe says dira, the word dira, a dwelling, an apartment in the lower world, is the word dira. It implies a certain level of comfort. A dira is where you kick your shoes off, where you walk around in your boxers. That's the dira. Okay, it's not your throne room. It's not your, machsan. It's not your, it's your private quarters where you feel the most chill and comfortable to just be yourself. That's how Hashem wants this world. He desires that this world be like that for him. And so we've been discussing that the body, that the gvul, the tzura, the world as we know it in nature which is now currently a distraction and a mask and a block to releasing godliness in the world. It will actually be elevated and clarified and purified, and it will no longer be, not just it will no longer be a hindrance, but it'll actually be a pure conduit and a vessel to experience godliness and the oneness of God in the world. Okay? Because that part, our world that is gvul, that is boundary, that is limited, we have to remember, is itself a divine attribute. A divine attribute, remember, God has two main properties: light, without infinite light, and gvul, boundary, to stop the light, to hold back, to gvul. So he has bli gvul and gvul. God has these two modes. He has these two kochos, these two abilities: infinite light, finitude, gvul. So the gvul is just as much God. It's just as much as koach HaGad as the infinity. Okay? And so right now, the way we are right now, the way that God made the world, is that the gvul is looking to us as if it's something else, as if it's not God, if it's an additional thing, it has its own, a life of its own, right? We look at nature and we think, oh, it goes on, it has its life of its own, right? We can live our whole lives and thinking that there's no God and there's nothing running the show and it's just nature and it's always been here, or it's just evolution or whatever, however we say it. But this world, the nature, the limit, the science and all of this, our world, where we're a world of limit and definition, we say it's not God, it's something else. It's something bifnei atzmo, it's something itself. It's a separate entity. It's its own entity. It's not part of God. And so really the joke is going to be on us because that element of gvul, of limit, is a koach of God. Now we think of God as without limit, but we also said in the past that that conception of God is without limit, that can't be limit also is a limiting version of God. God is so great he can even be limit. God is God in that he has two kohos. One is unlimited, like light, and one is limit. Okay? And so right now, for the time being, we're in the time where this limit is itself a hiding for God's oneness, and it will eventually soon in our days be revealed. Okay? Be a conduit. Clear so far?
Yep.
So we see that Gan Eden, okay, let's just see Gan Eden, the process of God creating this world in order to get to this place where we can have this dir b'tachtonim. We're not there yet, okay? So the process of the God's creating of the world is to get to this place. So what's the process to get to this place? So God created Adam and Eve to enjoy. To enjoy. And if they would have waited, you know how long? 3 hours. If they would have waited 3 hours, Shabbos would have come in and they would have been able to enjoy all of the fruits of the garden, also the fruit, every tree, even the tree that was previously forbidden to them, they would be able to eat and enjoy from everything. They just had to wait 3 years. 3 hours. 3 hours. They had to wait till Shabbos came in and then do it. But they were impatient. They rushed. Cardinal sin, rushing.
Was it him or her that was pushing?
Well, she was tempted by the snake, and then she tempted him. And so now they could not get into the garden. They were banished from the garden. And so we had this plan A that got totally messed up, and now we had to go to plan B. And so that plan A, plan B, that kind of two-step, that is the nature of our world right now, because God, just like the Mesilas Yesharim said, God created the world for the purpose of that we should have pleasure from his divine countenance, right? But because we're not able to do that right away, our constitutions don't allow that to happen. If we just would go straight into the party room, we have to wait and prepare in the ante room. So that's plan B. That's plan B. Now we get kicked out of the garden, and now we have 6,000 years to get back, to actually achieve this perfection, this what the purpose of what God created the world for, which is this dira b'tachtonim. And we see that again playing out in Jewish history when it comes to the Chet Egel, the golden calf, right? We got the Luchos, right? We got the Matan Torah. Everything's great. It's like pre-sin in the Garden of Eden. We're like back pre-Garden of Eden, so to speak. And we had no patience. We also, the same sin. We had no patience. We thought, Moshe, come on, we gotta go. And because they were rushing, we fell again, and we had to go, and that's the same thing with the sin of the spies. And now instead of going into the promised land and the Beis Hamikdash and Mashiach and the world coming to its completion, then no, gotta wait. Okay, so that's the path of life. That's the path of the world. Okay, so Yetzias Mitzrayim was the first of the redemptions. Like that was the first. That was the first of the Jewish national redemptions. And we're waiting for the last one. Right? The ultimate one, the final one.
Would the second one?
What?
Purim, would that be the second one?
Well, Purim, I think, is a dogma. It's a dogma. It's an example. There's because what is this path? You bring up a good point. What is this path? What is this two-step? This two-step is, first, I'm going to give it to you. You can't handle it. You got to go through the hard way, and now you can have it. Okay? That's the path. I want to give this to you. You can't do it now, but if I just give it to you, so you have to choose the hard way. We have to go the hard way, the long way, and now after having gone through the process of the hard way and the long way, now you can come into the promised land, and it can be perfect, and it can be the ideal. That's the completion of the world happening. Okay, so that's also part of this two-step. The first plan A, so to speak, is here you go. This is what I've created it for. Oh, it's not going to work. So let's do plan B so that we can actually have plan A work. We need plan B, okay? We need to go through the trenches. We need to go through the trenches in order for plan A to actually succeed, in order for us to actually be in the promised land, in order for God's light and God's love and the purpose of the creation to reach its purpose, reach its place. We need to go through the trenches in order to make that happen, okay? And so that's why we just kind of keep screwing up, okay? Because that's part of the process. And what's the process? The process is, let me give it to you. Oh, that doesn't work. Do it yourself. Okay? So we got Matan. So that's basically the Jewish calendar in a nutshell. We got Pesach, which is completely Hashem's gift to us. We were a very passive character in that story. The Jews, we were very, very passive. Okay, we had very little to do. Okay, very little. We did, but very little. And God, it was basically a download from above. Okay, and because that just wasn't how it's supposed to come out, we're not going to get to plan A that way. Now we have to go through the whole year, and then we come to Purim, which is the exact opposite. God's name doesn't appear. God is nowhere to be seen, and it's completely us. It's all from us. Okay? Purim. It's all us. It's our strategy. It's our chachma. It's us doing it. It's a hisarusa dilatata. It's an awakening from below. We start out with an awakening from above. Doesn't go. That was putting Adam and Eve in the garden. That was taking us out of Egypt and giving us the Torah, doing it all from God. it doesn't go, and then we have to kind of do it ourselves. And then we come to this place of completion where we are able to arrive ourselves as kind of upright people, and that is the process again of the entire process of creation, going from a place of, I'm going to use these terms and don't get too thrown off by that, going from in a relationship speaking, going from a back-to-back relationship where we weren't really like a mature participant in the relationship. We were kind of just getting from the relationship, and we really we weren't a mature part of the relationship, and moving to a front-to-front relationship where you are eye to eye with the person with whom you're in a relationship with, and you're both kind of equal partners in the relationship. You're not taking more than you're giving. You both feel like 100% responsible for any presence or absence of intimacy in the relationship. That's the front to front. And that's the goal. That's the goal. That's Purim. Purim, where we kind of came front to front and said, this is what we want. We are taking on the Torah. We're doing this. This is us. Let's go. And so we took, through Mordechai, through Esther's guidance, we took the bull by the horns, and therefore we were zoche to Purim. And that Purim, in a certain sense, it's the end of the year, right? It's the end of the year, very end of the year, and it's the end of the story. It's really the end of the story. And so that's really what we're going towards. We're going towards a place where we are not pushed, or we're not. God's not giving it to us. God's not giving it to us. We're taking it. God's not giving it to us. Okay, so that God giving it to us was by Yetzias Mitzrayim, by going out of Egypt and getting the Torah. That was God giving it to us, and that didn't work. That was the start. That was no problem. That's the start. Okay, that's the start. Okay. So, we're all like, we see this is a pattern. This is the pattern of the Torah, of the creation of the world. This is what is happening. So,
which part of the pattern?
Basically, that Hashem starts out by giving it to us as a gift. That's putting Adam and Eve in the garden. That's taking us out of Egypt, right? It was all God's work, and that not working, that not being what it takes for us to reach. We fail at that point. Adam and Eve fail. We failed with the golden calf and the spies. That's what it is. When God does it himself, that's not what he wants. He wants us to be a fully mature, 100% participant in the relationship. Okay? And that's not, you're not going to get that from Yetzias Mitzrayim. That was not, we were like a baby. We were like, we got
a taste of it though.
We definitely. Oh yes, but it wasn't from us. It wasn't from us. It was not from us. God was downloading. God was downloading onto us. In fact, there's Kabbalistic sources that compare Yetzias Mitzrayim and the Red Sea, going through the Red Sea, as a rape. Because we had very little choice in the matter. We were kind of being forced into this situation. Because of the situation we were in, we were slaves, and Hashem took us out and took us through this situation. We were kind of being pulled along. We were obviously, we were a consensual participant to an extent, but you can understand, because of the vulnerability we were in, the deep vulnerability we were in, we almost had no option but to just go along with whatever was happening, whatever he did to us. Okay, so there has that element of kind of like we consented to a certain extent, but we would have consented to whatever, because we were in such a vulnerable position. God could do whatever he wanted to us and needed to do to us, to get us out of there. So now, but the final redemption where we're headed is where God is nowhere to be seen. God is nowhere to be found. That's where we need to shine.
That's where you're going tomorrow.
Right. But so So they say that shuls and base medrashes, that's the Eretz Yisrael. Every shul and every base medrash has a bechina, has a characteristic of Eretz Yisrael. So, Baruch Hashem, my father-in-law has a shul. They made the garage into a shul. So I'll be able to go in and go to Eretz Yisrael whenever I need. While I'm going, I'll think about you while I'm there. Okay.
And you
We'll
can
commune
get
there.
your tires changed while you're in the garage.
Thank God I don't have to deal with any of that. Okay. So now we're back to the mimer. Okay. Now we're back to the mimer. Okay. So we were saying that in the past, so now we understand a little bit clearer, okay, what we spoke about last week. In the past, God, when it was Yetzias Mitzrayim, Matan Torah, taking out of Egypt, the giving of the Torah, and the time of the temple, we spoke about this last week, that the time of the temple was a time where God was giving us downloads. What was the chush? What was the chush? What was the sense that we had that we were reacting to? I think it was the sense of seeing. We could see. We saw the sea. We saw the plagues. We saw the miracles at the temple. We saw God messing with nature, and we saw it. And when we see something like that, the chush of seeing, when we see something like that, it affects us. It affects us. It affects us more than hearing something. When we see something, the PTSD and whatever, on the bad side and whatever on the good side, seeing has a very powerful effect on us. It pulls us. It entraps us, what we see. And so if God is just pulling out all the stops and just, showing you the highlights reel of all of him messing with nature and showing how he's so involved. You see the pillar of fire going up. There's a huge breeze and the pillar of fire is just going up. You see everybody packed in and then we're all bowing and there's all this room. All of a sudden, we're seeing miracles left, right, and center. We're seeing that nature is very we see God messing with nature all day long. And when we see that, we are drawn to that. We're drawn to that. And so when we're drawn to that, when we're pulled to that, our avoda is not really a sign of God's dominion over the world. It's not a sign of God's dominion over the world. What it is that God can put on a good show, and he made me with eyes that he knows that if he puts on a good show, I'll be pulled after that. And I'm doing things because, it's great. We see such an inspiring mofes, such a wonder. And we're pulled after that, and we start singing and dancing. I mean, just imagine you see like, that you're saved from a shipwreck or whatever in a miraculous way, so that you start singing and dancing. That's like what is that? You're a bitachon. You're an Eved Hashem par excellence. No, you just saw an amazing thing. And your body and your system is created in a way that you react to that in that way. You'd be crazy not to. You'd be crazy not to dance and sing and daven and shevach and hodah to Hashem. You to daven and to praise and to all that. You'd be crazy not to. That's you. That's what your body's makeup is. You see something and you react to that. That's part of who you are. It's not showing God's control over the world. You saw something and that's part of who you are. But when God shows nothing, when there's a blank screen, when God's nowhere to be found, you keep calling and you get just this number's been disconnected, and then you put on tefillin. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Why did you do that? That is because that shows a much more. We said that shows a much greater control of God over the world.
Does that mean that the kavul is not working when you ask a question like that? If you go from
I'm sorry, I don't know. Yeah, say, what does that mean?
I don't know. You go from this dark place, and then the next thing you know, you're doing that.
Right.
Is it maybe because the kavul is hidden or more obscured?
When I said that let's say nowadays, so we're in a period of time where the avoda we're not getting any kind of download. Hashem's not giving us any cheat sheet or anything like that. We have the physical world in all of its darkness and hiddenness. And now if we decide to do Ratzon Hashem, if we decide to do a mitzvah, so then that is us putting a yoke on ourselves. We're putting a yoke on ourselves, okay? We're saying basically, let's see through contrast. When I'm in the Beis Hamikdash and the music is playing and the miracles are going and I am doing Avodas Hashem, why am I doing Avodas Hashem? Because it feels amazing, because I'm going with the flow, because everything feels so right?
It's on.
Is God is this a demonstration of God's control over the world? Over me? It's God kind of like, this is just, he kind of messed with us. It's not God's dominion. He can mess with people. Great. Good God. You're real good. You can mess with people. What's the better relationship? Which is the better relationship? The relationship where one person is schlepping the other person along, or is the relationship when both people want equally to be in the relationship? It's not a question. So when Hashem is making all these signs and wonders and all these things, and we're just being pulled after that, what kind of good relationship is that? How great is that relationship? As soon as the signs and wonders stop, it's not really that so interesting anymore. Right? I think we've all had such a relationship. It's not really I'm not really bringing myself there. It's really more about the signs and wonders that are bringing me to the relationship. So it's not such a good relationship. The relationship is when the person, it's the person itself. I just want to be with that person. I just want to be with that person. It's almost like unconditional. I just want to be with that person. That person's so great. Did he do something to me? Did he lure me in? Was there some kind of like something against my control? No. He gave me all the space, and I said, I really want to be in a relationship with you. I really want to be in this relationship together. That relationship, that's a relationship. And so when Hashem goes quiet and says, if you want a relationship, I'm here, but it's up to you. And so we decide, you know what? I have my full capacity, or no, I'm not seeing any signs and wonders. I'm not being influenced by some kind of, ether out there that's making me want to sing and dance. I used my brain and I said, there's a God in this world, and I looked into it, and the Torah is true, and this is all true, and you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a mitzvah. What do I do when I do that? I take a yoke and I put it on my neck. And now the Torah tells me what to do. Okay? I put a yoke on my neck. I voluntarily put a yoke on my neck and say, let's take the yoke off. I want to sleep in. I want to go to the beach. I want to go here and there. I want to eat this and that. I put on the yoke. No, I'm going to do what Hashem wants. I'm going to put on the yoke, and now I'm going to eat kosher. I'm going to go to shul. I'm going to give my money to here, and I'm wearing a yoke. Now, imagine us all wearing yokes. Let's say you walked into a room and you saw a bunch of people wearing yokes. You'd be freaked out. You guys are a cult. When you see people wearing yokes, what's your question? Where's the boss? When you see a cow wearing a yoke, you're saying, whose cow is this? Whose cow? I know this is someone's cow. It's wearing a yoke. If we would wear a yoke, you'd say, who do you belong to? Who do you belong to? Where do you belong? Who is your master? You are wearing a yoke? Who is your master? So you see that when we put on the yoke of heaven, we immediately show God's control over the world in this beyond way. I'm wearing a yoke. I'm a human being with opinions and feelings and thoughts and education and culture and this, and I'm wearing a freaking yoke. I put a yoke on my neck. What is the message I'm giving? I have a master. Somebody's leading me. I don't make all the decisions. I don't make all the shots. I don't call the shots. I have a yoke. Where the yoke guides me is where I go. Who is your master? That shows right there God's control over you. Beyond if you're right, hippy dippy, airy fairy, you got the vibe and the going on, and you're in touch with this and you see the miracles and you're just pulled after. Oh yeah, that's showing God's control over the world, over a human being wearing a yoke. You understand what I'm saying? The human being wearing the yoke, our decision to put that yoke on shows God's control over the world. Like, it's almost scary. It's almost scary. Imagine seeing a group of people wearing yokes. Imagine it. It's weird. It's weird. But when you look at that, when you see that, you see, oh my gosh, there is someone controlling these people. There is somebody who is a master of these people. These people are giving their kind of free will or their desire to something else. They're wearing a yoke. Okay? So that is what we are going. That is where we are. That is the avoda we're at now. Putting a yoke on our neck. Putting a yoke on our neck voluntarily and being willing to be led by God's will. Despite the fact that we are in full control of our capacities, we have tons of our own opinions, tons of our own feelings and emotions and experiences, and our own picture of how we would like the world to go, and I still put on a yoke, and I'm directed by God's will. That is where we are at. That's where we are in history. That's what our job is to do now. That's what our job is to do. When we do mitzvahs, we're wearing a yoke. We're wearing a yoke around our neck, because really, what else are we do? Why are we voluntarily put a yoke on our neck? Nachon? No one sent me a burning bush today to inspire me. I used my brain and used my thoughts, learned, and things make sense to me. So I put a yoke on me. And that wearing a yoke, being a totally sane, cognizant, I don't know, totally sane, but totally cognizant, conscious person, and putting a yoke on my neck, that shows Hashem's dominion and control in an extremely dramatic way. When you think about people wearing yokes, it's like almost scary how dramatic that picture is. Nachon? It's quite an image. It's quite an image. Okay, it's quite an image, and that's what we're talking about. We were wondering, why is it that when your full capacity is there, when you're all of your emotions and your whole personality is present, and you do God's will, even though that's a greater demonstration of God's control. I think that picture kind of illustrates that a little bit. Why that is the mode which demonstrates God's control, because it's completely of our own volition. We are not being influenced by amazing visions that we saw, and like downloading, that Hashem is just downloading good vibes and ruchnius and godliness into our senses, that we're now we can't but be pulled after that. That's like being kind of not raped, but that's like being that's like being influenced. It's like getting roofies to put in my drink. What kind of relationship is that? That shows God's control over the world, that he can put roofies in my drink.
What's a roofie?
Is that the right drug to put in?
Well, it's a drug that makes...
It's a date rape.
Date rape drug. Yeah, sorry, trigger warning. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it's a big issue. It's a big issue. Ladies that they even have products to cover your drink. If you're a lady, to cover your drink while, let's say you're not looking or something like that, you have a cover. It's a thing, guys. And then they become incapacitated, and and that's
Women
it.
don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
You just come like, yeah.
How do you know?
So what kind of relationship is that? Is that the kind of relationship that Hashem wants for us?
No.
What's with us?
Very
No.
good, isn't it?
Maybe we want that kind of relationship. Just put something in my drink, will you? Like, let's get this done. Let's get this over. Just put something in my drink. Sometimes we wish it would be so easy, but no, that's not the relationship that Hashem wants. We're trying to get to Plan A, the real way. The real way, which is to do it ourselves and to get to that Purim, where but now let's just finish it up. Let's see if we can just say this in a couple minutes. Yetzias Mitzrayim was the primer. Yetzias Mitzrayim was the primer for this final redemption. It was the first redemption, and it's what, as the Rebbe says, opened up the faucet. It opened up the faucet for this integration to happen. It didn't happen by Yetzias Mitzrayim. That light, the light of Ein Sof, when it came into our world, it broke nature. Nature was not able to hold it, was not able to hold the light, and it broke it. It broke. Matan Torah happened, but we couldn't sustain it. Right? It was these things we saw, and these amazing things that Hashem did to the world, right? He did to the world, but the nature was not a vessel to accept this light, and it broke. Nature broke, right? We had to break nature, right? The nature doesn't do that. The miracles of coming out of Egypt and the first part of our history were miracles that were characterized by breaking nature, being over nature. It's the same light that's going to come down at the final redemption. It's going to be the same light. It's going to be a do-over of Yetzias Mitzrayim. But the world will have been prepared now. The world will have been prepared that light, when it comes in now, it won't break nature. It will integrate into nature. It will be, instead of it coming in and breaking nature, nature will remain fully aware, fully consenting, fully cognizant, fully present, and allow and want and have God's will direct it. It won't break it. It's now able to accept this light and to be a channel and to be a wire and a channel and a conduit for that electricity. It's like a different voltage. It's like if you have a wire and you turn on a certain voltage, it busts it up, it breaks it. I don't know this for a fact. I'm assuming this is true. Okay, I'm not an electrical guy. I don't know about electrical. Okay, I was in yeshiva. You know what?
220 through
120, 210, 220, 110. So, but when you start fixing the wire and you repair it, you strengthen it, whatever mechazik it, you strengthen it, you reinforce it. Then you turn on that electricity and it goes. It's smooth, and then the lights go on. Doesn't bust the fuse. It goes. And so the process of our world right now is reinforcing that wire. We're doing our Torah and mitzvahs in order to reinforce the wire, in order to bring the light of our Torah and our mitzvahs through this Kabbalah's Ol, is reinforcing nature. It's protecting. It's preparing nature to accept this light in a way that now it can be fully integrated into nature. Rather than destroying nature, nature retains its full capacity, all of its components, but its will is now done. It's like wearing a yoke, and it's now going to just be directed by God. It's the same miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim. It's the same light. But whereas the light then the world was not prepared for that light and could not hold it nor sustain it, but it was the opening of the faucet, the final redemption will be that same light coming down, the same kind of way, but because of our avoda over these last 3,000 years of doing Torah and mitzvahs, and especially since the time of the Churban Abayis, especially since we have no Beis HaMikdash, especially since when God has been hidden, our Torah and mitzvahs, which are basically us in our full capacity, all of our consciousness but we're putting on a yoke and we're doing God's will. By doing that, we are now we're preparing the wire, preparing nature to then have, again, this influx of light, Yitzias Mitzrayim kind of light. But now we've done our work, and now the wires of nature have become reinforced. And now when that light comes in, it will seamlessly just take it over. It won't break it. It will seamlessly take it over. And then ultimately that gvul, our nature, will then even become this amazing conduit for godliness. And it won't be a stira. It won't contradict infinity or godliness. It will be the perfect vessel for it. Okay?
But nature as we know it will still be nature as we know it.
Yes. Well, I don't know as we know it. The nature of nature will change. The
There's
nature of
not going to be fire
nature.
inside of ice. There's not. I mean, that kind of.
I guess not. But it will be that energy of fire inside of ice, but it will be nature. It won't break nature. Yeah. Well, you can see it right now when you put on tefillin, or when you give tzedakah, or when you learn Torah, or when you do anything. When you are doing God's will right now, you are seeing that.
Okay,
You
all
are
right,
seeing.
Rabbi, check.
You are. You are seeing. You are
We're
seeing.
learning Torah.
You're seeing.
We're learning Torah. Can we see it right now?
Yeah,
We're learning.
That's it. We are afal pi, that we are normal people that live in the world, that have studied chemistry or physics or engineering or economics or whatever it is. We're learning ancient texts, and we're giving money away, and we're saying funny words in a different language. We're doing these things, and that's nature being controlled and by God's will, putting a yoke on ourselves. Ultimately, we're preparing nature to kind of take on that yoke, and be able to accept that light and be a conduit for that light. That's our work. That's our work. That's the Jews' work in the time of darkness. That's our work to do. We are, every mitzvah we do, that's why Chabad is so. Just another mitzvah. It doesn't matter. Just whatever you can do, any more reinforcement you can contribute to the wire. To the wires helps. Who knows? Like, obviously there's a critical mass. And then once you've refurbished and reinforced the wire to get the 220 voltage, then you can turn the light on. You can turn on the voltage. So we don't know how many more mitzvahs we need. It could be that's it. The wire has been reinforced enough. As soon as the wire is reinforced enough, the electricity can be turned on, and we can have.
Just where it tzitzit. I'll do it. I'll put us over.
No guilt there. No responsibility on that one. I like getting your water. It's easier.
Oh, very nice. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So that's today.